Driver leads a double life, stunt driving for movie productions by day and steering getaway vehicles for armed robberies by night. But after living a life of solitude, he falls in love with his beautiful neighbor Irene, only to get involved with criminals threatening her convict ex-husband. So that Driver can protect Irene and her son, he quickly shifts gears and goes on the offensive in Drive.
Drive. We've all just seen it. Brian, you want to take us down the road on this one?
I thought this movie was all kinds of awesome. It's a little bit different than your typical Hollywood action flick. It's more of an art house approach to action sequences and car chases and character. It's an enigmatic main character that we don't really know a whole lot about, but we are really fascinated and interested by everything that he does.
Yeah, no, I don't agree. Drive, for me, feels like a really spectacular trip to nowhere.
It's an awfully fascinating, awfully fun trip to nowhere.
Okay.
I think one thing that makes it unique is this is being sort of billed as an action film, car chase movie, but it's not. And I think what it does that makes it distinctive is it really crafts a very unique relationship between Ryan Gosling's character, who is this sort of man with no name character. He's known in the credits as Driver. That's all we know about this guy. And his relationship with this woman, played by Carey Mulligan, and it's all done very quiet, very mannered. They're exchanging looks.
The narrative isn't your traditional Hollywood structure. It kind of wanders a little bit, and it isn't as focused as we would probably like it to be. But what it does have in its hat is that it kind of experiments a little bit with how you explore character, how you approach telling story. I mean, there's really interesting scenes between Carey Mulligan and Ryan Gosling where they could not speak for like 15 to 20 seconds, and they're just looking at each other. But they're saying things that aren't outwardly expressed through dialogue.
Hey.
Hi.
Sorry about the noise.
I was just so fascinated by this movie. I mean, I can't say that it always worked, but I was always mystified by what was happening on the screen.
Oh, bullocks. I think that's all crap, and I'll tell you why. I agree that the film is vigilantly non-traditional and experimental, and I really appreciate this film for that. That said, I feel that the attempt to focus on the relationship and the dynamic interplay between these characters is not compelling, and it really feels like playing with navel lint.
I think to a certain degree it's an exercise in style. I mean, I certainly think that there's a voice of this filmmaker that says there's going to be a gloss to this, there's going to be a look to this, that I'm going to sort of shove into the story.
Or I'm going to shove into the face of the audience.
Into the audience. This character, I think, does grow over the course of the script. You start to see him break away from his shell a little bit and finally kind of take on elements that he hadn't taken on before. He's starting to care for someone, and we hadn't seen him do that before, and this doesn't really seem like someone who would.
But we don't know that that's growth because we haven't not seen him do that.
See, I mean, but I feel like the strengths of this movie really revolve around the fact that he's less interested in what it's about and more interested in how it's about. And I think, while the script might have some shortcomings, this is a movie by a director that I think directors really need to see.
Yeah, I think all directors need to see it. They need to see it because they need to learn how to not be derivative, which is exactly what this Refn guy is doing in this particular film. You can name check probably 5 or 7 different directors that are being imitated.
It seems like you're making it seem like it's more of like a hodgepodge of sort of like
random
elements, and I completely disagree with that because I feel like this movie has. I think this movie has a very specific tone that's executed from the very beginning to the all the way to the end.
And how would you characterize that tone?
It's playful. It's a playful tone. It's not concerned with backstory. It's really interested in sort of the visceral experience of in the moment.
What about the violence?
Well, I had a little bit of trouble with the violence. I feel like
liked the violence.
We're just not going to agree on anything.
I thought he did a really amazing job with the violence. I thought that that was very clear, a very stylistic flourish.
The sound design in the movie was really fantastic because, a gunshot feels like a gunshot in that film. Like it pulses through you. It's not just somebody shooting a gun. It's you feeling somebody shooting a gun.
Gosling is not interested in being a movie star here. He's really interested in, there is a craft that I am trying to present, and I can do it in subtle, quiet moments. And I think it's a powerhouse performance.
Talking about some of these flaws that we have in this film, I feel like is really nitpicking. Because I feel
Nitpicking?
I think it's nitpicking because this is a movie that we don't see often, that doesn't come along. It's an action
There's
movie.
a reason why.
But it's an action movie with a brain.
I think action movie fans, car chase movie fans, might be disappointed by this movie. It makes choices of not necessarily showcasing action completely. We spend moments waiting for action.
All right, well, I mean, I think we should take this thing to a vote, so.
I think we should put on the brakes here and take it to a
Just
vote.
grab your ticket.
All right.
Lovely. Drive is a film that makes its point that it is more concerned or interested in style over substance, and for me that means that it is a film that takes us on a ride without a destination. So I'm going to say you have to stream it.
This movie has so much creative energy that I feel like if you miss it, you're really missing out. So I say see it.
I think it's a fascinating movie that runs on all cylinders. See it. So it looks like that's 2.5 tickets, which is a see it for Drive.
Cheers, guys.
Can I get a ride?